Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to UKU Masters Nationals 2018 here at the legendary Glastonbury tournament. First game of the game just wrapped up between Janitors and Red Leicester, or extra mature Red Leicester, technically. And Janitors are going to be back on this field for our next game, the first stream game of the day, between Janitors and High Society, as you can see in the top left corner of your screen. It's Benjamin Rees here with you, delighted to be able to helm today's coverage. There's just a packed schedule of games between Janitors and High Society, as you can see in the top left corner of your screen. It's Benjamin Rees here with you, delighted to be able to helm today's coverage. There's just a packed schedule of games. Hooter goes off in the background, and so we're going to start our next game pretty soon. Teams just finishing off their Spirit Circle, and one of the things that you love about watching the Masters division is that so many of these players have been around the scene for so long. They're really familiar with each other. A lot of them know each other really well. They've played together with and against each other for years. Our next game pretty soon. Teams just finishing off their, and that means that generally these games tend to be really well spirited. There's a great atmosphere, and especially at a tournament where, like the Glastonbury tournament, they're really familiar with each other. A lot of them know each other really well. They've played together with, where spirits are high anyway. There's generally always going to be a good atmosphere around these teams, even though they know they've got a prize at stake. Then it's never, calling yourself a national champion is never to be sniffed at, even in a reduced field that the Masters division has this weekend. 6 teams. There's generally always going to be a good atmosphere in the field here today around these teams, even though they know they've got a prize at stake. Then it's never, calling yourself a national champion is never to be sniffed at, even in a reduced field that the Masters division has this weekend. 6 teams. There's generally always going to be a good atmosphere in the field here today. See teams just getting through some final throws, but to get the format of the schedule today means that games are squeezed into 1-hour game slots, and often that means there's a bit of a delay in the start of games if the previous contest has been a little bit tight. Which is what we're seeing now, where a game just wrapped up ever so slightly late. So. And often that means there's a bit of a delay. It's going to take a bit of time to get this next game started. If you are watching the streams live here on YouTube, thank you very much for tuning in. As you can probably see, the weather's very grey and it's raining at the moment. The forecast has been a lot worse at some points this week. There was one point where it looked like we might not necessarily get any play on the Sunday due to thunderstorms, and obviously there's still the chance that that could come up. Fingers crossed that it doesn't. But at the moment, there's not really much wind. You can see the trees in the background, pretty still. There is, however, a steady, I'd say annoying, inconvenient, although not dreadful rain. Due to thunderstorms, and obviously there's still the chance that that could come up. Fingers crossed that it doesn't. But at the moment, that's something that teams, especially Masters teams, are more than used to putting up with. And I think secretly, especially when they feed into the regular draw tomorrow, a lot of them will be hoping for wind and rain so they can preserve their legs and play some vintage zone. But that's something that teams, especially Masters teams, are more than used to putting up with. And I think secretly, especially when they feed into the regular draw tomorrow, a lot of them will be hoping for wind and rain so they can preserve their legs and play some vintage zone. See, just an example there of some of the revelry that takes place at an occasion like Glasgow. So this weekend we've got UKU Masters Nationals today, and just an example there of some of the revelry. Yes, and for tomorrow, after the Masters division wraps up, they feed into the rest of the tournament as normal. So it's possible that one of the Masters teams could win Masters today and then feed into the tournament as a whole tomorrow, and then win Glastonbury tournament as well. So obviously that's what they're as the dream for this weekend. But obviously you can't look at So it's possible that obviously you can't think about tomorrow until you've got today out of the way. And then feed into the tournament as a whole tomorrow, and then with Glastonbury tournament as well. So obviously that's what they're dream for this weekend. But obviously you can't look at. So it's possible that obviously you can't think about tomorrow until you've got today out of the way. And then feed into the tournament as a whole tomorrow, and then with Glastonbury tournament as well. So team's just a little bit slow to get this game going. I think Masters as a whole has a bit of a reputation for being slightly lackadaisical, certainly in the style of play where, especially when you can contrast it with Uni Ultimate, where the technique's very unrefined and there's often a lot of athleticism but not a lot of field awareness and field sense. Masters is often the opposite of that, where because the athleticism's not necessarily at the level it once was, there aren't as many wide open windows to throw in, and spaces you can throw into are a bit tighter because you've just got more experience of playing the game, and so you can hit those tight windows more effectively. The athleticism's not necessarily at the level it once was, there aren't as if you are watching the stream, please do get in contact with us. It's always nice to hear who's watching out there. Best way of doing that is via Twitter. You can find me at Benjamin Rees, BenjaminRees. It's always nice to hear from you wherever you're watching. Hopefully somewhere warm indoors rather than outside in a field. Although if you are maybe just watching on the other side of the Glastonbury complex, you're obviously more than welcome as well. This weekend of the autumnal equinox as well, so I think Glastonbury as a town is very entwined with that line of thinking, and I'll be sure, especially if the weather clears up, there'll be a fair few people climbing up the Glastonbury tour later. Glastonbury as a town is very entwined with that line of thinking, and I'll be sure, especially if the weather clears up, there'll be a fair few people. Oh, it looks like we're going to get some Frisbee. Both teams just working out what they want to do to start the game. Looks like High Society are going to start on defense, asking for a pitch disc because they found the one on the sideline. Oh, it looks like we're going to get some Frisbee. Both teams just working out what they want to do to start the game. Looks like High Society are going to start on defense, asking for a pitch disc because they found the one on the sideline. So you can't quite see it on the camera, but you can a little bit there. Again, just a solid annoyance of rain currently. So you can't quite see it on the camera, but you can a little bit there. They're making their final preparations before we start this game, a little bit later than teams had perhaps planned, but obviously you do see this happen in formats where the schedule's really tight for time. It's quite good trying to squeeze in as many teams as possible, and one of the things that means you've got to have shorter games and shorter game windows. Not much change over time. That ball's going to land out of bounds, so Janitors are going to start the game by bringing the disc in at the brick mark. It's quite good trying to squeeze in as many teams as possible, and wanted to see what High Society start to do on defense. Not much change over time. That ball's going to land out of bounds, and it's looking zonal to start. Just not necessarily a surprise for the Masters division. Maybe try and preserve the legs a little bit more. Disc is checked in and we're underway. It's going to start with a swing to this near sideline. Trying to find a shot through the cup, and they're going to pass it around the back, swing towards that far sideline. The continuation isn't quite timed. That's a nice little handler cut. Getting up the line, a nice find there. Has to try and toe the sideline. No question about the raise inbounds. Everyone happy to look at that. It's going to pop it over the top. There's a swing available. They're going to take it. Underneath cut comes. There's transition now into one-on-one defense. Has to try and toe the sideline. Looks for the underneath. They're just going to dump it off. This is nice. Calm offense so far, which is usually what you expect from heads this experienced. Transition now into one-on-one defense. Looking into the middle for a swing. Reset space with a little bit clustered, but they got it off. They're just going to dump it off. Hopping now off towards that far sideline. Swing into the middle, very close to a run through D. Good strong hands, going to keep the disc in Janitors' possession. Looking into the middle for a swing. Underneath cut comes. Maybe thinking about shots to the end zone, looking to see if they can find an inside-out channel. Instead, they're just going to pop it down the far sideline. Oh, cut came to the front cone. Didn't quite like the look of it. Nice little high release with that lefty, getting it off towards the middle of the pitch and swinging it around. There's no immediate continuation into the end zone. Thinks about a scuba, just going to pop that back in the locker for now. Anyway, and there it goes. Nice high grab as well. Pretty comfortable. Had a couple of steps on the defender, and that is going to get Janitors on the board, and so they're going to have a nice comfortable hold, marched it up pretty coolly and calmly, which is always nice to see from an offensive perspective. And so Janitors are going to start this game with a nice clean hold and a 1-0 lead. Is going to get Janitors on the board, and so they're going to have a nice comfortable hold, marched it up pretty coolly and calmly, which is always nice to see from an offensive perspective. And so Janitors are going to start this game with a nice clean hold and a 1-0 lead. So we're going to get a chance to now see what Janitors do on defense and how High Society can respond on the offensive side of the disc. It'll be interesting to see if they choose to go with a zone as well, or whether they're going to come out in single coverage. So we're going to get a chance to now see what Janitors do on defense and how High Society can respond on the offensive side of the disc. It'll be interesting to see if going to go for another IO backhand from the pool. This one's going to come inbounds though into the end zone. Fielded comfortably at the front. Oh, goes towards the far sideline. And going to shoot deep immediately. They're not keen to hang about, but it's just going to trail off at that far sideline. No one's going to get a shot at that. And instant turnover pretty much from High Society. We'll see if Janitors play a little bit more adventurous style after the turn, or whether they choose to go down that calm, disc-preserving route that we saw on that first point. The one advantage, obviously, that deep turnover for High Society is that Janitors are going to get it right on that front cone. Not ideal field position. That's a nice inside break to get it off the line. Continuation comes around. Ooh, a little bit of a bubble, but reels it in, palms it into the breadbasket. The one advantage, obviously, that deep turnover for High Society is that Janitors underneath cut there towards the far sideline. Not ideal field position. That's a nice inside break to get it off the line. Goes for a fake. Takes the hammer at the second opportunity. Nice. Does a very good job of getting his chest right behind the disc. If he wasn't able to catch it cleanly, it would have been an option. Oh, they're going to go for the hammer once more. Oh, defender comes underneath it. Can't quite get there, and it's reeled in the end zone. It's going to be a break for Janitors, and as soon as they worked out that the hammer was a viable option, they were more than happy to take it. Voodoo's going to get the goal. Really tight pressure, but just not quite tight enough. See it again there. Just can't quite time his jump accurately, and he falls to the floor after making the catch, but it matters not, it still counts. So 2-0 to Janitors. Nice start to this game for the side in black. Mentioned that you saw them in the Spirit Circle having just wrapped up a game against Red, which they were taken down 13-12 in a sudden death thriller. For the side in black. Mentioned that you saw them looking around for an option, find it underneath cut. Wanted a deep shot, but there's nothing available. Going to try and get it up the line. Surveying downfield. That's the tie and toe the sideline. That's nice footwork. Just going to check with the sideline whether he's in or not. They don't seem to have any problem. Justin he was going to go for a little hammer over the top. It helixes, and I'm pretty sure that wasn't the intended target, but well tracked and caught, and then popped into the end zone for the High Society goal. Their first point in the game to reduce the deficit to 2-1. I think that was quite how they drew it up necessarily, but as long as it works, it's all good. Pretty sure that wasn't the intended target, but well tracked and caught, and then popped into the end zone for the High Society goal. Their first point in the game to reduce the deficit to 2-1. I think that was quite how they drew it up. So we're going to see as long as it works, it's all good. Going to replay that again here, just squeezing this down this sideline. This was the toe in coming up now. Yeah, very good job of dragging that back left foot And maybe a bit of conservation of greatness here. Shoots the hammer to the far side. Receiver running through, spies the disc and gets right underneath it to make the catch, and then pops it into the end zone for the 2-1 score. Very good job of dragging that back left foot. Janitors still a break to the good. High Society will look to earn that back now. Receiver running through, spies the disc and ball goes up. It's comfortably caught by Janitors. Oh, nearly a run through. Really put a pace on to try and intercept that disc. To find a nice swing all the way across the field. Doing a very good job of churning up some yardage early on. And this is textbook. Dump and swing, and as I say that, just going to shoot a hammer over to the far side, and that's going to go way over everyone's heads. And Janitors, who played pretty calmly so far, just losing a hammer right out the far side of the pitch. Definitely not what they would have had in mind there. High Society won't necessarily mind. Then they get a chance now to earn their break back. They're going to swing the disc off the line into the centre of the pitch to start. Underneath cut, went for the one-handed catch. Wouldn't stick in there, just a little bit wet and slippery, and that does cause problems. There was an option in the end zone. They chose not to take it, instead looking for a safe reset. Cycle this towards that far sideline. Looking in the middle for a dump option. Going to try and hit the front cone. Not going to be quite in the end zone. Couldn't quite chop his feet there. See if they jam it in. And, oh, interesting decision. Was just about able to keep it up. And eventually, maybe eyes dropped a little bit when that slightly risky throwaway up was rescued though, and from there Janitors were able to capitalise. They did turn the disc over, but they got it back on a drop, and now they've reopened their 2-point lead at 3-1. And eventually, maybe eyes dropped a little bit when that slightly risky throwaway up was rescued though, and from there Janitors were able to capitalise. They did turn the disc over, but they got it back on a drop, and now they've reopened their 2-point lead at 3-1. So rain coming down a little bit heavier than it was at the start of the day. I get a feeling that the inclement weather is probably going to be a theme this weekend. So rain coming down a little bit heavier than it was at the start of the day. But that's something that's obviously part and parcel with playing outdoors, is that the weather is going to be an element. The weather is probably going to be a theme, if you excuse the pun work. Underneath cut, oh nice one-handed snag there. Looks for a little bit like it might be too far, but it's well reeled in. You see in the backfield, and again, just with the wet turf, a few players slipping over. It's always important to keep your footing, but you will see that every now and again. This gets dumped, and they're going to go for a blade towards that far side, brought in with one hand. He's going to try and squeeze it again. Oh, it's just too far. Wet turf, a few players slipping over. Asked a lot of the receiver, nearly able to do it, but just a little too much sauce on that, maybe a little bit too trigger happy, could have holstered it. Let's give Janitors a chance to extend their lead further. Asked a lot of the receiver, nearly able to do it, but just a little too much sauce on that, maybe a little bit too trigger happy, could have holstered it. Now their offense is going to go back to work. Let's give Janitors a chance to extend. Trying to get a break to open up a 4-1 lead. Nice underneath cut. Looks for a yard gainer, oh, wide open all the way to the end zone. Janitors firmly in charge and sweeping High Society away right now. So they take a 4-1 lead. It's a nice underneath cut with the defender training. He's got plenty of time to step and just put a perfectly feathery flick all the way into the end zone. As a receiver, it's so nice to catch deep throws like that where you've got space and you don't have to go all out to make the catch, especially when the weather's as unfavourable as it is. You want these catches to be as easy as possible, because even catches that are normally reliable with this much rain and they're just this slippery, and obviously we've seen people slip in the turf as well. You want to make these just as easy to catch as possible. Unfavourable as it is, you want these catches to be as easy as possible, because even catches that are normally reliable with this much rain and just this slippery. And obviously, we've seen people slip in the turf as well. You want to make these. High Society looks to get back on the board. Recycling into the middle. Finds an underneath cut. Instead, going to shoot it deep. Oh, that's lovely. Over the top of the defense. Picked out the option. It's not going to be quite in, though. Got on the line. Going to go for a backhand, trying to roll curve it around, and this gets the right edge on it. High Society back on the board. Gave up 3 on the bounce there. Oh, that's lovely. Over the top of the defense. He sets his feet on the line. And this is the issue when you've got someone isolated in that much space in the end zone. As a defender, your job is so difficult, and especially if the force gives up the break, as happened there. As a defender, often you can be a bit lost. On the line. So 4-2, the current scoreline. Someone isolated in that much space in the end zone. As a defender, Janitors still. Good few breaks up in this game. As a defender, often you can be a bit lost. 20 minutes in so far. Game's in 1 hour windows today. The force gives up the break, as happened. Janitors still. Good few breaks up in this game. High Society ready to pull. 20 minutes in so far. I think there are quite a few players offsides there, but no one really seems to mind. Fakes that opening swing with the High Society defense closing quite quickly. High goes the swing and back in the zone. Going to go for a blades to open things up again. Get a bit of field position. Downfield. Again going for a blade all the way towards that far side. Just a touch too far. Was having a look at his feet, trying to think about exactly where he was relative to the sideline. And had a bit more space, I think. Nice creative throw all the way over the top. Can be reeled in, however, so High Society now can close the deficit if they get their first break of the game. Deep shot goes, but it's looked off and they're going to find an underneath cut instead. Oh, cheeky little scuba. Try to squeak it through, and one outstretched hand is not going to be able to bring that in. Looked off and they're going to find an underneath cut instead. High Society already jamming things into quite high windows, and Janitors are going to do the same, taking a shot towards the back of the end zone, but they liked the matchup they had. He's able to pluck it out of the air, and Janitors reopened their 3-point lead. See the deep shot again. There's 2 defenders converging of it, but it just goes over their heads. Not going to have a chance at it. 5-2 to Janitors, the current scoreline. Matchup they had, he's able to pluck it out of the air, and Janitors reopened their 3-point lead. See the deep shot again. There's 2 defenders converging of it, but it just goes. Well, they have made a couple of slightly rash throws, Janitors. They have been able to get it back on defense. Must be said, so far mostly through drops rather than run-throughs or layout Ds. But if you force teams to throw into tight windows and make a high volume of passes in this weather, it is going to force turnovers. Rather than run-throughs or layout Ds. Obviously, players of this experience will know that. A high volume of passes in this weather, it is going to force turnovers. High Society just in front of their own end zone. Goes for a high release backhand to get himself out of a jam there, and going to squeeze it down the side. And there's an option. Oh, I think it's a little bit underthrown and just mis-executed, and that tails off out of the far side of the pitch. And so Janitors with another break opportunity. You see there, it was underthrown, and at any rate, even if it had been in the pitch, certainly seemed like the defender had better position for it. And again, they're going to go with one of these expansive blades over the top. That one is really well reeled in. That's a tough catch to make under good defensive pressure, and especially with this slippery. So you maybe don't want the receptions to be as dicey as that. Obviously, you trust your receivers to make the play. And again, they're going to go with one of these expansive blades over the top. And they're just going to pop it in right at the front of the end zone. Cool as you like for a 6-2 lead, and Janitors maybe don't want the receptions to be as dicey as that. Are taking High Society to the cleaners a little bit here. And they're just going to pop it in right at the front of the end zone. Cool as you like for a 6-2 lead, and Janitors. Defenders just look a step slow. You can see them trying to really protect that front side of the end zone. But the poached defender's got his head turned, so he can't see exactly where the cuts are developing from. And that means he's too late to get into that space and stop the throw going for the goal. You can see them trying to really protect that front side of the end zone. But the poached defender's got his head turned, so he can't see exactly where the cuts are developing from. And that means he's too late to... And Janitors looking very good value for their lead so far. And stop the throw going for the goal. Big ball's going to go up. A little bit of miscommunication about who's going to field this, and it's going to go right towards the back of the end zone. It's an excellent pull, and the situation's only exacerbated by the confusion from the high society handlers. Janitors looking very good value for their lead so far. And this is full-on Callahan country now for Janitors. Going to get the underneath shot. Still in their own end zone though now. Finally working out of it. Oh, miscommunication again there. This time on that just little handler pass. Greedily picked up, and they're going to go for that roll curving backhands toward the far side of the end zone. It's right on the money from the Janitors, and oh, miscommunication again there. This time on that high society really not on the same page at the moment. Greedily picked up, and they're going to go for that throw greedily picked off. Almost seemed like he was the intended target. He seemed trying to move the defenders around with these fakes, and with the force too far off, that arcing around backhand is not difficult at all. And even then, it's excellently executed. Almost seemed like he was the intended target. So 7-2 to Janitors, the current score. And with the force too far off, that arcing around backhand is not difficult at all. And with another break here, they can take us into half in relatively short order. So 7-2 to Janitors, the current score. That's the underneath part to start things going. And with another break here, they can take us into half in relatively short order. Just into the centre. Looking for an underneath cut. Nothing's really coming, so they're just having to reset backwards. They're really struggling to get solid downfield continuation. It's a lot of handler passes, and when those are made, there's nothing upfield afterwards, and that pass is knocked down, and Janitors capitalise quickly. Reset backwards. They're really struggling to get solid downfield. You see it again on the replay there, just running through, and Janitors all the wisest. Quick pass into the end zone to take us to 8-2 and half time. Janitors just all over their opposition this first half. Just running through, and Janitors all the wisest. Quick pass into the end zone to take us to 8-2 and half time. So both teams will get a little bit of water on. You can see all the umbrellas up, sheltering a little bit from the rain, which is most inhospitable, I must say. And even with these shorter games, there's still plenty of time left. We've hit the half-time limit, probably almost exactly halfway through the game. And given that we started a few minutes late because of the previous game overrunning as well, Janitors must be pretty happy with how quickly they've wrapped up that first half. We've hit the half-time limit, probably almost exactly halfway through the game. And given that we started a few minutes late because of the previous game overrunning as well, Janitors must be pretty happy with how quickly they've wrapped up that first half. It's Benjamin Rees here with you at Glastonbury, bringing you coverage of UKU Masters Nationals. Pool game at the moment between Janitors and the High Society, with Janitors 8-2 to the good, currently in a half-time break. You can see High Society beginning to take the field towards the left-hand side of the screen. Janitors started on offense, so they're going to pull to begin the second half. With Janitors 8-2 to the good, currently in a half-time break. You can Just going to have a little bit of discussion towards the left-hand side of the screen. Janitors started off, so they're going to pull to begin the second half. Just going to go through some final discussions about how they're going to play this defensive point. It's the first time they've had to put out a D-line for a while. Go through some final discussions about how they're going to play this defensive point. Disc in the air, ready to pull. And we're underway to begin the second half. Going with a roll curving backhand. Disc in the air, ready to pull. And we're underway to begin the second half. Looking for a shot to the end zone. Oh, it's just too far. For a shot to the end zone, no, it's just too far. So they begin to think this possession with a nice break around to this near sideline, giving themselves plenty of open side to work with. The underneath cut comes there. Going to continue towards that far sideline. That's a nice weighted throw out to space, and a little pop to a handler running through into the middle. Janitors really rocking and rolling on this possession, moving the disc quickly, never really getting the defense get set, and a blade over towards the far side. I thought it was going to be completed regardless, but the defender got just enough pressure on it. Running through into the middle. Janitors really rocking and rolling on this possession. Sees the target coming through and just throws this a little too close to the defender, and that's a creative throw, expansive inside-out backhand, and really well defended from the Janitors. That is a bit of a hospital pass, it has to be said. Saw the window and went for it, but just really not executed as effectively as they would have liked. And now they're just moving quickly now, and as defender tries to cover one option, it opens up one elsewhere. Looking around, looking frustrated with the lack of option. No force on though, and eventually it does come in to put a stalk out on. Nice swing around the back. Looking for a huge hammer over the top. Oh, it's really well defended by High Society. A nice little slap of hands between the two combatants. Just gets higher and gets a little earlier path as well. Just tip it out of the path of the receiver. So this is being brought in at the front of the end zone. Little swing. Oh, there's a big hammer towards the far sideline. That was really well executed. Again, no immediate continuation though. Dorking it around the far sideline. This is nice patience now from High Society. And that's just as I say that they're going to launch the ham deep. And again, good defensive pressure on the overhead. But maybe a little bit too close. Looks like it's going to be an uncontested foul. Checked in on the front of the end zone. Looking for an option. Oh, so cheeky. That's the sort of creative throw you can expect from the Masters division. Look on the replay. Gives a quick wipe. Always a good idea, just so you can make sure that it's as dry as possible. Especially when you're going to do something like this. Spies the option early. Looks around into the backfield, and the no-look high release backhand. Little bit filthy, it has to be said. And that's a nice way for High Society to open up the second half. 8-3 the scoreline, but that's a big confidence booster. Love watching that on the replay. So High Society ready to pull. Nice air backhand caught at the front of the end zone. Going to go for a roll curving forehand to start things off. There's an open option here, and they do take it. Looking to pop it off on the handler running through. There's space on the far side, so they're going to squeeze it through the middle, just dish it off, and now this goes towards the far side, and they're marching it up so quickly and calmly, and you cannot play against it any better than that. Janitors running through it almost like it wasn't there. Look at it again on the replay. A little bit of wobble on that, but not a problem at all. Receiver was in plenty of space, and they did a really good job of getting these players downfield in motion early, so by the time the disc was in the handler's hands, they were already uncovering. So that pull from High Society, or pull for High Society even, excuse me, is good lad out of bounds. And so the team in blue will bring it in at the brick mark. Cut goes to the break side, and that is suspiciously open, and it's not a massive surprise to see that go back on a pick call. Stack maybe just a little bit too tight into each other, and that cut went to the break side. There was no way for the player to catch up, of course, without initiating contact with someone else. So it's just going to stop and call the pick instead, and we're back underway now. Nice underneath there, and there's an option in the middle. He's going to dish it off to the handler coming through. There's another hammer. Oh, he's wide open, and despite that, a soaring hammer was right on the spot. Beautifully executed from High Society. Going to close the deficit to 6 again at 10-4. Cut comes underneath. Takes the option of the handler running through, and force flattens up, and not going to have hands high to stop that. Just a rocket shot. Howitzer of a hammer all the way to the end zone. You cannot do it any better than that. And High Society look like they've got a little bit of their mojo back in the second half. It might be a case of too little too late. But even so, it's nice to see a bit of spirit. It's a little bit of a nip in the air. It's not so bad when you're running around on the pitch, but when you're on the sidelines, it's really important, obviously, to keep yourself warm and active and energised. Nice little dish off there. More zonal defence from High Society. Last time, Janitors didn't have a problem with that. Oh, that's a really good toe in on the sideline. Excellent work to keep that in bounds. There's the hammer over to the far side. Oh, just misread a little bit. Had more space to backpedal towards the sideline before they would have been out of bounds. And in the end, it's the excellent toe in's going to come to nothing. The hammer overshot out the far sideline. But instantly turned back over, tries to squeeze it down into a narrow channel, and there's two Janitors defenders there in our high release backhand over the top. High Society defender closed in, couldn't quite get there in time. So owning the disc back on the first throw and capitalising quickly. See it again here on the replay. The first defender couldn't get there, but it was right into the open awaiting arms of his teammate. And with no force, a bit of confusion off the timeout, it's just going to sit this high release backhand over the top. Defenders close, but not quite close enough from a High Society perspective. So 11-4 to Janitors, the current scoreline. And they're going to launch a monster forehand deep. Nice box out and reeled in with one scooping right hand for High Society. Nice body positioning there. See him wind it up and just launch it deep, losing the height matchup, but does a really good job reading it early, getting into position and boxing him out, and then nice hustle at the end to chase it down. Reel it in with that right hand, and High Society back on the board. So had a little bit of a problem with the scoreboard. 10-5 is the current score. It's now gone down to 9-5. Just having a couple of problems. Underneath cut goes there. Fakes the big backhand shot down the line with that left hand. Now they swing it instead. Doing a very good job of spreading the field, constantly changing these angles of attack, making the defenders have to reposition themselves over and over. A little bit of insight on that forehand towards the far side. And again, if they don't see what they like in the end zone doing, the wise thing, just resetting it around the back, and that's going to be a pit call, so that's going to bring a temporary stop to proceedings. Discus checked in. Looking for a scoring option, and again, a couple of seconds not there, just take the reset, and this is nice, patient offense, but eventually they're going to have to try and squeeze it in there. It's not going to be right now, though, so there's a pick. And Discus check back in. Really close to the front cone now. I'm interested to see whether they jam it or they go for the hammer over the top, and it's right on the money. Receiver wide open in acres of space. And Janitors extend their lead once more. Inside out backhand on the pull from Janitors. Down to the end zone and caught comfortably. Oh, that's a little bit of a miss throw though, just behind, and see it again on the replay, just an execution error. Tries to squeeze that one through, just about finds a window. And they're going to pop it right into the front corner of the end zone, cool as you like. That's a nice little break for Janitors there. Nice little up the line to the front of the end zone, comfortably popped in. Janitors ready to pull, and the disc is going to go up. Soaring into the sky and coming down about the front of the end zone. Pulling this game's generally been very good. There's been a few bricks, but there have been some excellent pulls and generally well fielded as well. Are they going to lash it deep? right on the spot as well. Did not waste any time, but a lot of pace on that blistering backhand, and see him step out, wind up the arm, bang it deep, and it's with two defenders closing. Works his way round the first, and the receiver bisects them. Comes streaking through to make the catch. And High Society have looked a lot more confident in this second half. Much less afraid to take their shots. And it's worked for them. Ball goes out at the back of the end zone, but nobody's touched it, so they'll get to bring it in at the front. Nice underneath cut to initiate things. Going to take the swing. Not afraid to lose a few yards just to keep the disc moving. And that opens up space for the swing. Swung into the centre. Ooh, that throws low, and Bob Borden's just going to hit the turf. So a chance for High Society to begin to claw back this lead, and that's not the way to do it, it has to be said. See what they were going for, tried to squeeze the blade over towards that back corner, but it turned and knifed way too early, and receiver never really even had a sniff of it. So looking at options downfield, just going to take a swing to start things off. Give cutters a chance to respace themselves, get the defenders out of position a bit more. Again, squeezing it down that far sideline. Trying to isolate a reset. Finds one in the middle, nice continuation swing. And again, tries to find the inside-out shot. Was really well caught, low on the ground. Oh, and that time just tried to jam it in the jam hole. Vez is going to greedily pick it off, and he's going to instantly shoot deep, and that's underthrown, and Janitors going to get their turn back almost instantaneously. Definitely an example of the conservation of greatness there. Cut comes underneath. Getting active on the force. Really trying to stop the break. Going to try and float a high release over the top. Oh, there's 4 receivers there, and by some miracle, no one catches it. I'm not entirely sure how they didn't catch that. Just so many people there. It's mine, it's yours, it's oh dear. A little bit of an omnishambles, it has to be said there from the Janitor receivers. Just into the middle, going for a high release backhand. Nice bit of roll curve on that. It's going to take it all the way towards the far side of the field, and the continuation is exactly where it needs to be. And somehow, I'm still not quite sure how, Janitors didn't score that point. And High Society punish them and make them pay for it. Getting another break to close the gap once more. Just going to have a look at this again. How on earth do they not score this? Me? No, you wait, what? Up. Oh dear. Isn't Frisbee a beautiful sport sometimes? So the ball goes up. And it's going to go out that far sideline. Hooter goes. So we will finish the point, add 1 to the highest score, and that'll be our cap. So it'll either be 12-8 game to 13 or 13-7 game to 14. brought in at the brick mark. Force slips a little bit. Again, and we've seen this happen quite a few times actually. Players just slipping over, cutting or on the force. Very wet conditions. The ground is pretty slick. This is good defense actually. Had to take a creative throw, and how did that one stick, but not the one on the previous point? And I think maybe the disc somewhat knew that maybe it didn't deserve to be caught there, and so decided we'll go to ground on the next one. Must be said, excellent job of keeping focused to catch the tip. Disc in the centre, going to shoot for the end zone. Our defenders too far behind. There's the high side goal. And so Janitors are only going to need to put one more point in for the win. Although, after blowing High Society out of the water in this first half, it must be said that the side in blue have really fought back really valiantly in the second half. And if they play like this all game, it's fair to say that this result would certainly be tighter. Obviously, with time ticking down, both sides will, Janitors will obviously want to wrap it up on this point. High Society, it's a big ask to get another 5 on the bounce, but it's not undoable. We've seen it numerous times over the years with actually bigger leads than this. Although you do feel if Janitors can unlock that high level of play they've had at points during this game, it's probably be too much for their opponents. That's a nice wide open underneath cut. Nice little scuba to find the open dump. A little bit of creativity. Always goes down well, and that disc was too close to the sideline and rolled off the receiver's hands as he tried to toe the line. Does seem to be some sort of stoppage here. Maybe something downfield that wasn't directly affecting the play. It's going to be a turnover. High Society striding towards the disc. Going to take a big blading swing. Fakes a downfield pass. Not really liking options that developing. That's a very clogged set, so the swings go all the way to the far side. There's a deep shot. It's going to go over the defender, sliding to the ground on his knees. Excellent catch from High Society. And they're showing a bit of fight now. Again, could be a case of too little too late. But that was an excellent deep shot and really well reeled in as well. See it again, just beyond the defenders, not going to have a shot at it. And receiver had a bit of work to do, but he was more than happy to do it. And I think the way the cap works, that even though High Side can get that last point in, it's not going to be enough, and the game's going to finish 12-9 to Janitors. Or maybe they're just deciding that that's not the case. Maybe a little bit of confusion by the players about what exactly the cap rules are. Definitely seen the tournament director, Ed, knocking about this weekend. I think he might be playing with High Society. So obviously he'd know what the rules are, and if he didn't, that'd be slightly worrying. So it is going to be definitely game to 13 for the moment anyway. There might well be a hard time cap that has to be enforced at some point, but that point's not right now. High Society ready to pull. Big roll, curving back, comfortably caught by Janitors. Trying to move it downfield. Nice job of finding the poached player. And they need to keep exploiting these open players because you never know when the defenders are going to switch on and stop giving you these easy passes. Even if they're not necessarily in the places you want it to go. If you can keep the disc moving, keep the defender always on their toes, constantly change the angles of attack, make them have to respect the open player or laces the hammer to into the end zone. High Society all over that one. Nice around backhand there. Now in the centre. And again, wide open underneath pass. And they're trying to zing one into the end zone. But way too much Tabasco on that one. Janitors will bring it on the front cone. Nice underneath. Open underneath even. Hammer into the middle. It's going to gain some yards and get it off that sideline. So swing. There's an open pass underneath. Thinks about the reset into the middle. Trying to get that low release backhand. Instead, it's going to take the dump. Now there's the swing and continuation towards the far sideline. Takes the fake. Changes the direction. Resets the flow of traffic. And again, nothing there. Hitting towards the break side. Thought about the shot into the end zone. First point of contact. Not it in the end zone just yet. Just squeezing it in that front cone. Very much a case of jamming it in the jam hole. And that's going to be enough for the Janitors. Or should I say the Jamitors. That's going to be the win. 13-9. You can see teams slapping hands. And they're going to go into a little spirit circle now. And that's going to bring an end to this game here at UKU Masters Nationals. Janitors running out 13-9 victor over High Society.